The sun had barely crested the jagged horizon, spilling its golden light over the rocky canyon. Dust danced in the wind like tiny particles of gold, disturbed by the careful steps of the K-9 unit moving through the rugged terrain. Sergeant Miller's boots crunched against the coarse gravel as he scanned the area, eyes sharp and alert. Beside him, Ace, the German shepherd, sniffed at the ground with an intensity only a battle-trained K-9 could possess. Ace's ears twitched, nostrils flaring, every muscle in his body coiled with purpose. The handler trusted him implicitly. The dog's instincts had saved lives more times than he could count. The operation was meant to be straightforward: locate and apprehend a dangerous fugitive hiding in the remote canyon. Intelligence had indicated the suspect had barricaded himself, armed and desperate. For the K-9 team, these missions were routine yet perilous, each fraught with the potential for disaster. Miller and Ace had partnered for years. Their communication was seamless, built on shared experiences in the field, countless hours of training, and mutual respect. Ace knew his role instinctively, and Miller knew Ace's every twitch and glance. They advanced cautiously along the canyon's winding path, the sharp edges of rock jutting out like teeth. The wind carried a dry, metallic scent that signaled recent activity, human or animal. Miller couldn't tell. He gestured to Ace, who pressed forward, tail rigid, nose low to the ground. A sudden snap of gravel underfoot caused both to pause. Ace's ears perked, his eyes narrowing. Miller's heart quickened. He had learned to trust the dog's instincts, and Ace's body language told him danger lurked nearby. Without warning, Ace yelped sharply and crumpled to the ground. Blood seeped from his side, staining his fur a deep crimson. Miller's stomach dropped. He rushed to Ace's side, dropping to his knees, hands trembling as he examined the wound. The dog whined softly, eyes wide with pain, yet a spark of resilience burned within them. Ace, hold on, buddy. Stay with me, Miller whispered, his voice tight with fear. The canyon suddenly felt enormous, its shadows stretching menacingly around them. Time slowed as Miller's mind raced, recalling every lesson, every procedure for a wounded K-9. The rest of the team froze, unsure whether to continue the mission or focus entirely on Ace. Every soldier understood the unspoken rule: a wounded K-9 could not be left behind. Their K-9 self were more than partners. They were heroes, often first into danger and last to leave. Miller lifted Ace gently, noting how the dog's body stiffened at every movement, yet he did not resist. Ace trusted him completely, and Miller knew he had to act fast. The sound of helicopter blades in the distance reminded them of the extraction plan, but the uneven terrain made a quick evacuation impossible. Miller applied pressure to Ace's wound as best he could, using torn pieces of his uniform to staunch the bleeding. Sweat mixed with dust and blood on his hands. The dog whimpered, yet a faint wag of his tail reassured Miller that Ace was still fighting. He had faced countless threats before, but seeing him like this, helpless and vulnerable, twisted something deep inside Miller. "Medic, now!" Miller shouted. From the rocks, SEAL Medic Ramirez sprinted, boots kicking up dirt and small stones. Ramirez dropped beside Ace, quickly assessing the wound with practiced efficiency. "Ever seen action before?" he asked, nodding toward Miller, who swallowed hard. Miller hesitated. Ace had been on dozens of missions, raids, rescues, reconnaissance, but each was different. Each carried risk. "Yeah, he's seen plenty," Miller admitted, voice tight with emotion. "But this is bad." Ramirez nodded grimly, eyes scanning the dog's injury. Blood continued to soak through Miller's makeshift bandages. They both understood the stakes: Ace's life, the mission, and the safety of everyone in the canyon. As Ramirez worked, Miller reflected on Ace's past exploits. He remembered the time Ace had darted into a burning building to locate hostages, guiding them to safety without hesitation. He recalled missions in which Ace had sniffed out hidden explosives, saving dozens of soldiers in the process. Ace had faced danger head-on, never backing down, never faltering. Now, lying injured in the canyon dust, he displayed the same courage he had always shown. Every movement, every flicker of his eyes, spoke volumes of his loyalty and bravery. Miller felt a pang of guilt. He couldn't bear the thought of losing his partner. The medic's hands moved swiftly, stabilizing Ace as best as possible in the field. He applied tourniquets, cleaned the wound, and murmured quiet reassurances. "You're a fighter, buddy," Ramirez said, his voice calm but edged with tension. Ace responded with a low whine, trying to lift his head. The dog's breathing was heavy, ragged, yet his spirit refused to break. The canyon echoed with the sounds of distant birds, the rustle of wind, and the dog's labored breath. For Miller, the world had narrowed to this single moment, this fragile life in his hands. Enemy fire was faintly audible in the distance, a stark reminder that danger had not vanished. Every second mattered. Miller's mind raced with the logistics of evacuation. They couldn't carry Ace for long, and the helicopter extraction point was still a grueling hike over jagged rocks. Sweat burned his eyes, dust clogged his throat, but he kept moving, keeping Ace steady. The dog shifted slightly, whining, and Miller whispered encouragement, stroking his fur despite the blood. Every glance, every touch conveyed unspoken trust between man and dog. Ace knew Miller would never let him down. The team rallied around them, soldiers forming a protective perimeter as they advanced carefully. Ramirez checked vitals, adjusting bandages, whispering to the dog as if his voice alone could heal him. Miller glanced at the horizon, calculating distance and terrain, seeking the safest path. Ace's ears twitched at every sound, tail flicking despite pain. His eyes held that familiar intensity, the same focus he displayed in countless missions. For all the danger around them, Ace's determination gave Miller strength. He realized that courage wasn't just human. Here, in the dust and blood, heroism walked on four legs. Hours or maybe minutes, it was hard to tell past as they slowly made their way toward extraction. Every step was deliberate, careful. The canyon's unforgiving terrain demanded vigilance. Miller felt every heartbeat, every breath, every small movement from Ace. The dog's loyalty was absolute, mirrored only by Miller's devotion. He spoke softly, recounting past victories, encouraging Ace, letting him know that the fight wasn't over. Blood stained dust and fabric, but Ace lifted his head, responding to Miller's presence. The bond between them was unshakable, unspoken, and profound. Even in this dire moment, a sense of quiet determination pervaded. Finally, distant rotor blades signaled the approaching helicopter. Relief surged, but Miller knew they weren't safe yet. Ace's breathing remained uneven, his body trembling. Ramirez adjusted his bandages one final time. Miller carefully lifted Ace, cradling him like a child. Each step toward the landing zone was heavy, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Soldiers flanked them, weapons ready, scanning the canyon for any signs of threat. The team's focus had narrowed entirely to saving Ace, the brave canine whose instincts and courage had saved lives countless times. The mission could wait. The hero could not. The wind whipped through the canyon with a fierce intensity, carrying the dry scent of dust and earth. Sergeant Miller's boots slipped on loose gravel as he held Ace tightly, his hands trembling. Beside him, SEAL medic Ramirez crouched, eyes sharp, scanning the German shepherd's injuries, with a trained precision honed through years of combat and life-saving experience. Field medicine was second nature to him for humans, But Ace was different, a K9, a partner, a hero in his own right. Ramirez took a deep breath, letting calm focus replace the rush of panic in his chest. "He's tough," he muttered, glancing at Miller. "But this is serious." Ace lay on his side, his coat matted with blood, eyes flicking between his handler and the medic. He whimpered softly, shifting slightly, as if testing his strength. Despite the pain, a spark of determination shone in his gaze, the same fierce spirit that had led him through countless raids and dangerous missions. Miller's heart clenched. "He's always fought through," he said quietly, "but I've never seen him like this." Ramirez nodded solemnly, fingers brushing against Ace's fur, checking for bullet entry points and puncture wounds. "We're going to do everything we can," he assured Miller. Time became a blur as Ramirez worked, improvising with field medical supplies. Gauze, bandages, and antiseptic were applied with swift precision. He murmured calming words to Ace, adjusting a makeshift tourniquet to stop the bleeding. The dog's whines echoed in the canyon, a sound that tugged at Miller's heart, yet he marveled at Ace's resilience. Despite the severe injury, the German shepherd refused to collapse fully. His head lifted with effort, ears pricked, eyes alert. It was as if he understood the urgency, as if his very presence demanded courage from everyone around him. Miller's mind wandered briefly to Ace's past missions. Each memory was vivid. He recalled the time Ace had darted into a crumbling building during a hostage rescue, darting past flames and smoke to guide trapped civilians to safety. He remembered the countless hours Ace spent sniffing out explosives, alerting soldiers to hidden threats with a precision that had saved lives. Even the smallest missions, those involving recon or tracking suspects in remote terrain, carried risks Ace had navigated with skill and bravery. Every memory reinforced a singular truth. Ace was not just a dog. He was a hero in fur, trained to risk his life without hesitation. Ramirez paused, adjusting a bandage along Ace's flank. "This isn't just a bad cut," he said softly. "There's internal bleeding. If we don't move fast, he won't make it." Miller swallowed hard, his throat tight. Panic had threatened earlier, but he forced himself to stay steady, remembering the countless drills, the emergency training, the countless hours spent preparing for moments like this. Every instinct told him that Ace's survival depended on their actions right now, every decision critical. Miller lifted Ace carefully, feeling the dog's trembling muscles, whispering, "Stay with me, buddy. You've fought before, and you're fighting now. You've got this." The canyon echoed with the distant sounds of wildlife and the faint rumble of helicopters on the horizon, a reminder that extraction was near, yet still out of reach. Dust stung their eyes, heat pressed down on them, and the jagged rocks threatened every careful step. Ramirez instructed Miller to keep Ace's head elevated and maintain pressure on the wound. "You know him better than anyone," he said. "Keep talking to him. Remind him why he fights. Remind him who's beside him." Miller's voice trembled at first, then grew stronger, recounting stories from past missions, small victories, moments of courage that reminded Ace of his own strength. Ace lifted his head slightly at the familiar voice, eyes softening with recognition. He whined but seemed calmer, trusting Miller's presence. Ramirez applied antiseptic and bandages, murmuring encouragement. "He's a fighter," the medic said. "He's seen it all, and right now he's counting on you." Miller's chest tightened, his mind flooded with gratitude and fear. Each movement mattered. Each breath could tip the balance between life and death. Yet Ace's spirit inspired him. He realized in that moment that courage was contagious. The dog's determination pushed everyone forward, giving them hope in a dire situation. The journey toward extraction began, slow and deliberate. Each step was calculated, balancing the need for speed with the precarious terrain. Rocks threatened to trip them, loose gravel slid underfoot, and the sun beat down mercilessly. Miller held Ace close, cradling him with a tenderness usually reserved for children. Ramirez continued to monitor vitals, whispering to the dog, adjusting the bandage, checking for shock. "Almost there, buddy," he said. Ace whined again, but lifted his nose, sniffing the air, ears alert. He had survived worse, and somehow, in the midst of pain and fear, he remained vigilant, ready to continue the fight. As they moved, Miller's mind continued to reflect on Ace's heroics. He recalled the first mission they had ever completed. Together, Ace had been young but fearless, darting into danger without hesitation. The bond they shared had grown from trust, mutual respect, and countless life-or-death situations. Every past victory, every narrow escape, now felt like preparation. For this moment, Ace was not just a partner. He was family, a companion whose courage defined the meaning of loyalty. Miller's heart swelled with pride, even as fear gnawed at the edges of his mind. Hours or perhaps only minutes, it was impossible to tell passed as the team navigated the canyon. Dust and sweat coated their skin, but they moved with purpose. Ramirez adjusted Ace's bandages repeatedly, ensuring circulation and minimizing blood loss. Miller whispered continuously, recounting moments of bravery, speaking directly to the dog as if words alone could heal him. Ace's eyes followed his handler, glinting with recognition and trust. Every step was a testament to the bond between man and dog, a silent dialogue of loyalty and courage. Finally, the distant thrum of helicopter blades announced the approach of extraction. Relief washed over Miller, but the danger was not yet over. They still had to reach the landing zone safely. Ramirez checked Ace one last time, noting the dog's vitals and responsiveness. Miller carefully lifted him, cradling him close. Soldiers flanked the duo, covering their movement, scanning for threats. The canyon's shadows stretched long, jagged, as if testing their determination. Every heartbeat felt amplified. Ace's courage, mirrored in the steadfast determination of the team, carried them forward. He had survived countless missions, and now his resilience would see him through this one too. By the time they reached the clearing, where the helicopter hovered, Ace was exhausted but alive. His breathing was labored, but he lifted his head briefly, tail wagging faintly, a silent acknowledgement of the efforts that had saved him. Miller knelt beside him, hands gentle on fur still stained with blood. Ramirez gave a subtle nod, a sign of respect and relief. Ace had fought through the pain, guided by loyalty, trust, and sheer determination. The hero in fur had survived, and the mission to save him had succeeded for now. The helicopter blades thundered above, dust and debris whipping across the canyon floor as Sergeant Miller carefully lifted Ace, cradling him like a fragile bundle of courage. The German shepherd's body trembled, muscles taut with pain and exhaustion, yet his eyes remained alert, flicking toward Miller with the same unwavering trust he had shown since they first met. The journey from the canyon to the extraction point felt like an eternity, each second heavy with uncertainty. Miller's heart pounded, but his focus remained on Ace, whispering soothing words, urging him to stay with them. As they moved, Miller's mind drifted to Ace's history, a tapestry of bravery, loyalty, and near-impossible feats. He remembered the first mission they had ever shared. Ace had been barely a year old, yet fearless beyond his age. The target had been a fortified warehouse on the outskirts of a small town, housing dangerous fugitives. The humans hesitated at the entrance, assessing booby traps and surveying the building structure. But Ace, nose to the ground, ears alert, darted forward. He sniffed out hidden explosives, guiding the team past the deadly traps that could have ended lives in seconds. A young canine had saved them all that day. And Miller had known then that this dog was destined for heroism. Another memory surfaced, the night Ace had been deployed to track a missing child in dense woods. The boy had wandered far from home, disoriented and frightened. The air was thick with fog, shadows stretching unnervingly between trees. Soldiers struggled to keep pace with Ace's lightning-quick movements as he darted through underbrush. Sniffing and listening, his instincts flawless. Hours passed before Ace found the boy, huddled and shivering, calling out as the dog nudged him gently, letting him know he was safe. Miller had knelt beside the child, thanking Ace through tears. That was the dog's nature, fearless, loyal, compassionate, and unyielding. Back in the canyon, Miller's thoughts returned to the present. Ace's wound was severe, his breathing labored, but there was a stubborn flame in his eyes. Ramirez, kneeling beside him, applied antiseptic to the gash and readjusted the bandages. His fingers moved with precision, but he spoke softly, knowing that calm reassurance mattered as much as the medicine. "He's tough," Ramirez murmured, glancing at Miller. "And he's been through hell before. He'll make it." Miller nodded, but he couldn't hide the gnawing fear in his chest. Ace had faced danger countless times, yet seeing him bleeding, struggling, and vulnerable was an entirely different pain. The helicopter's rotor wash stirred up dust around them, swirling like a miniature sandstorm. Miller held Ace closer, whispering stories of their past missions. He spoke of raids where Ace had led the way, ears perked, muscles coiled, guiding soldiers past lethal traps. He remembered a desert operation in which Ace had uncovered a hidden weapons cache, alerting the team before catastrophe could strike. Each story reminded Ace of who he was, who he had always been. A fighter, a hero, a life-saving partner. Slowly, Ace's tail twitched in response. A small yet significant signal of recognition and comfort. Ramirez checked vitals again, carefully monitoring the dog's pulse and breathing. "He's holding on," he said quietly, though his eyes remained vigilant. The medic had treated humans in combat before, but the bond he saw between Miller and Ace was different, profound. The dog wasn't just a tool of the mission. He was family, and his bravery deserved respect. Ramirez continued to speak to Ace, his voice steady and soothing, applying pressure to the bleeding wound and adjusting the bandage to prevent further damage. Every touch, every word mattered, each a lifeline in the canyon's harsh environment. Miller's thoughts wandered to the raids in urban environments, the ones where Ace had darted ahead, sniffing out hidden dangers before any human could react. There was the warehouse fire, the rooftop pursuit of armed fugitives, and countless nights of reconnaissance under the cover of darkness. Ace had faced bullets, explosions, and deadly obstacles, yet he always returned, tail wagging faintly, eyes bright, loyalty unwavering. That courage, that instinct, had saved lives more times than Miller could count. And now, lying wounded, Ace embodied that same bravery, refusing to give in to pain or fear. The extraction zone approached, a clearing bathed in sunlight and chaos. Soldiers prepared the landing area, ensuring safety for the helicopter and its precious cargo. Miller's grip on Ace tightened instinctively, his breath shallow but steady. "Almost there, buddy," he whispered, recounting stories of past victories, letting Ace know he had always been a hero. Ramirez adjusted the bandage one last time, murmuring reassurance. Ace's ears twitched, tail flicking faintly, signaling recognition and trust. In that moment, surrounded by dust, noise, and adrenaline, Miller understood the depth of their bond. It was more than handler and dog. It was trust forged in a crucible of life and death. The helicopter's landing skids touched down, kicking up debris that stung their eyes and faces. Soldiers guided them toward the open door, creating a protective perimeter. Miller carefully lifted Ace into the helicopter, cradling him as if his life depended solely on the strength of human hands, and in a way, it did. Ramirez followed, ensuring the dog's vitals remained stable during the final approach. The sound of rotor blades roared overhead, a cacophony that would have terrified most dogs. But Ace remained alert, tail flicking, eyes sharp. The courage that had defined him in every mission now carried him forward. Once inside, Miller set Ace down gently on the floor, keeping a hand on his flank. "You're doing great," he murmured, brushing blood-stained fur from the dog's face. Ramirez monitored vitals, nodding with approval at Ace's stubborn resilience. Outside, soldiers continued to secure the perimeter, but inside, the focus was singular, keeping this hero alive. Ace whined softly, his eyes meeting Miller's. The shared gaze communicated understanding, trust, and gratitude. Even in pain, Ace remained unbroken, embodying a courage and loyalty that few humans could ever match. As the helicopter lifted off, dust swirling below, Miller reflected again on Ace's past exploits. There had been countless moments where he had faced danger without hesitation. The hostage rescues, the explosive detections, the enemy confrontations. Ace's courage had saved lives repeatedly, often without recognition. Now wounded and vulnerable, he continued to fight not for glory, not for medals, but for survival, for the bond he shared with Miller, for the instinct that defined him. Ramirez's steady hands and Miller's unwavering presence were the lifelines that would ensure Ace's bravery did not go unrewarded. Hours or what felt like an eternity passed as the helicopter transported them toward the field hospital. Every vibration of the aircraft, every gust of wind, every jolt over turbulence was a potential threat to Ace's fragile condition. Miller kept whispering, recounting missions, letting him know that every scar, every victory, every challenge had prepared them both for this moment. Ace's tail twitched faintly at each familiar story, a small acknowledgement of the bond and history they shared. Ramirez continued to administer field care, murmuring encouragement, hands steady, eyes sharp. Finally, the outline of the field hospital appeared in the distance, a beacon of hope. Soldiers and medical personnel prepared for arrival, ready to act immediately. Miller adjusted his hold, ensuring Ace's body remained stable, whispering soft reassurances. Ace lifted his head slightly, ears twitching, and focused on Miller's face, his eyes gleaming with trust. The helicopter touched down smoothly, and the team quickly moved into position to unload the wounded K-9. For Miller and Ramirez, every second of preparation, every memory of past missions, and every ounce of effort converged in this single act, ensuring that Ace survived. As the team rushed Ace into the field hospital, the German Shepherd's breathing was heavy but steady. Machines beeped, lights flashed, and hands moved quickly and decisively to stabilize him. Miller knelt beside him, gently holding his paw, whispering encouragement. Ramirez coordinated with the veterinary team, providing a detailed account of injuries and field treatment. Despite the chaos, a sense of awe and respect filled the room. Ace had survived countless dangers before, and now, in this critical moment, he demonstrated once again that courage, loyalty, and resilience are not limited to humans. The canyon stretched endlessly, a labyrinth of jagged rocks and sharp drop-offs, dust swirling in the wind as Sergeant Miller held Ace tightly against his chest. Each step was measured, careful, a delicate balance between haste and caution. The German Shepherd's breathing was ragged, shallow, his body trembling with pain, yet his eyes remained alert and unyielding. Every muscle spoke of both suffering and determination. Miller could feel the rapid thump of his own heart, the tension pressing against his chest as the harsh sunlight beat down. The decision he faced now was one that would weigh on him forever. The SEAL medic, Ramirez, crouched beside him for a moment, assessing Ace's injuries again. "We can push forward with the mission," he said cautiously, "but the risk is high. He might not make it if we keep moving through this terrain. Or we can focus entirely on evacuation and save him first." Miller's jaw tightened. He knew the importance of the operation. They were tracking a dangerous fugitive, armed and desperate, someone who had already evaded authorities for weeks. But he also knew Ace's life was precious, irreplaceable. There could be no compromise. Miller's eyes softened as he looked at Ace. The dog lifted his head slightly, ears flicking, a soft whine escaping his throat. Despite the wound, despite the fatigue, Ace's gaze held the same unwavering determination he had shown on every previous mission. The German shepherd had faced gunfire, explosives, treacherous terrain, and hostile enemies countless times, and each time he had emerged triumphant, loyal, unbroken. But this time was different. Blood stained his fur, legs trembled, and his energy waned. Miller realized that the mission could wait. Ace's survival had to come first. "Evacuation," Miller said firmly, his voice resolute despite the tension. Ramirez nodded approvingly. "Good call," he said. "We'll stabilize him further, get him out safely, then reassess the mission. Nothing is more important right now." The canyon suddenly felt both vast and constricting, the weight of responsibility pressing down on Miller. He adjusted his grip on Ace, whispering softly to calm him, recounting stories from previous missions, the warehouse raids, hostage rescues, reconnaissance assignments in treacherous terrain. Each tale was more than history. It was a reminder to Ace of the courage and skill he had demonstrated countless times before. The journey toward the extraction point began, painstakingly slow. Every step had to account for loose gravel, jagged rocks, and the uneven canyon floor. Ramirez followed closely, hands ready to adjust bandages or provide emergency care if Ace faltered. Dust stung Miller's eyes, sweat soaked his uniform, and the relentless sun bore down, but neither he nor the medic hesitated. Ace's whines occasionally broke the silence, a mix of pain and determination, but Miller's voice soothed him. "You've got this, buddy. You've survived worse, and you're surviving now. Stay with me," he murmured. The dog's tail twitched faintly, a small sign of understanding, a signal of trust. As they moved, Miller's thoughts returned to Ace's countless missions. He remembered the night Ace had led a team through a near ambush in a dense forest, dodging gunfire with uncanny agility. He recalled the times Ace had sniffed out hidden explosives, his instincts flawless, saving lives that might have been lost. And he remembered quiet moments, the small gestures of loyalty, when Ace had comforted soldiers, offering reassurance without hesitation. These memories bolstered Miller's resolve. Ace's heroism was not just physical, it was emotional, moral, a constant reminder of loyalty, courage, and unshakable trust. The extraction zone appeared in the distance, a clearing bathed in harsh sunlight. Soldiers had secured the perimeter, preparing for the helicopter's landing, but Miller and Ramirez still had to traverse treacherous terrain. Miller adjusted his hold, ensuring Ace's body was supported, mindful of the dog's injuries. Ramirez monitored vitals, checking for signs of shock, applying pressure to prevent further bleeding. Every movement required precision. Every step demanded attention. The canyon walls loomed ominously, casting long shadows that seemed to mock their progress. Yet Ace's determination radiated outward, inspiring the entire team. Minutes, or what felt like hours, passed as they advanced. Dust and wind battered them, yet Miller's voice remained constant, recounting past victories, whispering encouragements, praising Ace's bravery. The dog lifted his head occasionally, ears flicking, responding to the familiar cadence of his handler's voice. Ramirez continued field treatment, adjusting bandages, monitoring vital signs, offering soft words of reassurance. The team's focus narrowed entirely on the wounded canine. The fugitive could wait. Ace's life, hard-earned heroism, and bond with his handler could not. At one point, Miller stumbled over a loose rock, sending a jolt through Ace's body. The dog whined, but did not collapse. Miller steadied himself and whispered, "Almost there, buddy. Hang on, just a little longer." Ramirez adjusted the bandage again, murmuring, "He's doing great. Tough dog, this one. You can do it, Ace." The German shepherd's eyes met Miller's, reflecting trust and determination, a silent affirmation of the bond they had forged over years of missions, danger, and shared victories. It was a bond stronger than fear, stronger than pain. Finally, the helicopter's rotor wash became audible, a distant roar that promised safety but also threatened to overwhelm. Dust whipped violently across the canyon floor, stinging skin and eyes. Miller carefully maneuvered through the final stretch, Ace cradled in his arms, each step deliberate to avoid further injury. Ramirez followed, alert to any sudden changes. In Ace's condition, the helicopter touched down in a cloud of dust and noise. Soldiers formed a protective perimeter, signaling Miller to move quickly. Every second counted. Ace's breathing was heavy, his body frail, yet his eyes gleamed with determination. As they approached the helicopter, Miller whispered, "We're here, buddy. You're going to be okay." He carefully lifted Ace into the open cabin, laying him down gently on a padded surface. Ramirez continued to monitor vitals, applying final pressure to the wound, adjusting bandages, murmuring calming words. The helicopter lifted off, rotor blades creating a storm of dust and debris, yet inside, a fragile sense of hope settled. Ace's struggle was far from over, but for the first time since the collapse, survival felt possible. Miller knelt beside Ace, brushing dust-stained fur from the dog's face, whispering encouragements. "You've survived every challenge, every mission. You can survive this too," he said, voice tight with emotion. Ramirez nodded, eyes scanning monitors, hands steady, reassuring both Miller and the dog. The journey to the field hospital would be perilous, but Ace's courage, resilience, and unwavering spirit shone through the exhaustion and pain. The helicopter cut through the canyon air, carrying them toward safety, carrying them toward hope. Every past victory, every heroic feat, now seemed to culminate in this single, critical moment. The canyon receded beneath them, shadows shrinking as the helicopter gained altitude. Dust swirled violently, yet inside, Miller remained focused solely on Ace. He whispered stories of past missions, recounting triumphs and near misses, keeping the dog engaged, mentally and emotionally anchored. Ramirez applied field care meticulously, a steady hand guiding Ace through the turbulence. Every heartbeat, every breath, every flicker of the tail mattered. They were not just saving a life, they were honoring a legacy of courage, loyalty, and resilience. Ace had faced danger countless times, and now, supported by human hands and unwavering trust, he would face one more. The helicopter's rotors churned the canyon dust into a swirling storm, stinging eyes and settling into every crease of uniform and fur. Inside, the cabin was a controlled chaos. Soldiers checked weapons, scanned the perimeter, and relayed updates. Over the radio, while SEAL medic Ramirez crouched beside Ace, maintaining pressure on the gaping wound along the German shepherd's side. Sergeant Miller held Ace carefully, whispering constant reassurances, brushing flecks of dust and blood from his matted fur. The dog's breathing was ragged but steady. His eyes tracked every movement, tail twitching faintly in recognition. Every second was critical, and the team moved with precision and urgency. Miller's mind raced even as his focus remained on Ace. Memories of prior missions, flickered unbidden raids in hostile urban environments, Nights spent tracking dangerous fugitives through forests and deserts, tense standoffs in buildings, riddled with traps. Ace had faced every threat head-on, fearless and loyal. But now, cradled in his arms, wounded and vulnerable, the dog's bravery seemed even more profound. Every mission, every risk taken in the past, had prepared them for this moment, yet the weight of responsibility was heavier than ever. He would not lose his partner. Not now. Ramirez checked Ace's vitals repeatedly, murmuring soft encouragement. "He's holding, but we need to get him stabilized immediately," the medic said, eyes scanning for any sudden shifts in the dog's condition. He had treated countless human soldiers in combat, yet Ace's courage and resilience struck him differently. Here was a partner, a hero whose instincts had saved lives countless times. Now, their lives were intertwined in this moment of crisis. Miller nodded, gripping Ace closer, murmuring, "You've got this, buddy. We're almost there. Just a little longer." Ace responded with a faint whine, lifting his head slightly, tail flicking. The helicopter hummed steadily as the canyon receded below. Dust and rock fell away, replaced by the hazy outline of the field hospital ahead, a sprawling structure of white tents and makeshift medical stations. Soldiers inside the helicopter prepared the landing area, coordinating with ground medics. The team remained vigilant. The environment was hostile, unpredictable. Yet, within the cabin, a fragile calm took hold. All attention was focused on Ace's survival. Every procedure, every movement, every whisper mattered. The German shepherd's struggle inspired the humans around him, reminding them that heroism could take many forms. Miller recalled another mission, an operation in a remote desert canyon where Ace had uncovered a hidden weapons cache. The enemy had been heavily armed, and the team's lives depended entirely on the canine's instincts. Ace had darted between rocks, nose to the ground, ears alert, guiding soldiers past booby traps. Explosives had gone unnoticed by humans, but Ace had sniffed them out, saving lives with quiet precision. Miller's chest tightened at the memory. Ace had always faced danger without hesitation, and now, despite pain and exhaustion, he fought for survival again. Ramirez worked efficiently, using every resource available in the helicopter to keep Ace stable. Tourniquets were adjusted, bandages reinforced, and pain managed as best as possible. "He's responding to treatment," Ramirez said quietly, a faint note of relief in his voice. Miller stroked Ace's fur, whispering stories of their past victories. A warehouse raid, a hostage rescue, countless reconnaissance missions. Each story was a lifeline, grounding Ace in familiarity, reminding him of courage, loyalty, and the bond he shared with his handler. The dog's eyes brightened faintly with recognition, tail twitching in small but significant gestures. The helicopter descended toward the field hospital, kicking up sand and debris that stung faces and filled lungs with grit. Soldiers guided the aircraft to a smooth landing, coordinating quickly with ground teams. Miller adjusted Ace's position carefully, ensuring his weight was supported and his breathing unobstructed. Ramirez continued monitoring vitals, administering fluids, and murmuring reassurances. Every heartbeat mattered. Every breath could be critical. Ace's resilience was remarkable. Despite severe injury, he remained alert and responsive, a testament to both his physical endurance and the unwavering trust he placed in his human partners. Inside the field hospital, a flurry of activity awaited. Medics and veterinarians were ready, instruments sterilized, equipment prepared. Miller laid Ace gently on a padded table, hands trembling slightly but steady. Ramirez provided a full briefing, detailing field treatment and injuries, while nurses and veterinarians moved quickly to assess and stabilize Ace. Machines beeped and flashed as monitors tracked heart rate, oxygen levels, and internal bleeding. Ace whimpered softly, eyes following Miller and Ramirez with quiet trust. Every person in the room recognized the significance of this dog, hero, partner, and survivor. Miller knelt beside Ace, brushing dust-stained fur from his face, whispering encouragements as he recounted small victories from past missions. Each word seemed to comfort the dog, who lifted his head slightly, tail flicking faintly. Ramirez applied further treatment, carefully closing wounds, administering pain relief, and monitoring vitals. The team worked with precision and urgency, yet there was a sense of reverence in their actions. Ace's courage and history had earned him their utmost respect. Even in pain, he demonstrated the quiet bravery that had saved lives time and again. The field hospital buzzed with controlled chaos. Machines beeped, medics moved with practiced efficiency, and Miller stayed by Ace's side, whispering constantly, "You've survived worse, buddy. You can survive this too," he murmured. Ramirez nodded, hands steady as he applied pressure to a deep wound. Outside, soldiers secured the perimeter, ensuring no threat would disrupt the delicate work inside. Ace's struggle inspired every person in the room. His loyalty, courage, and unbreakable spirit were palpable, reminding all present that heroism comes in many forms, sometimes in fur, with 4 paws and eyes that have stared down danger without hesitation. Hours stretched into what felt like days as Ace remained in critical condition. Miller refused to leave, holding his partner's paw, murmuring encouragements, recounting the quiet and dramatic victories of their past. Ramirez continued to administer care, adjusting fluids, monitoring vitals, and speaking softly to keep Ace calm. Slowly, faint signs of recovery emerged. His breathing steadied, eyes tracked movement more smoothly, and tail twitched in recognition. Miller's chest swelled with relief, but he knew the fight was not yet over. Every heartbeat was a victory. Every moment of responsiveness, a testament to Ace's unwavering courage. As evening descended, the field hospital became quieter. Machines hummed softly, casting gentle light over the exhausted team. Ace, though still fragile, lifted his head and responded to Miller's voice, tail flicking faintly. Ramirez continued checks, confident yet vigilant. Soldiers who had been on countless missions marveled at the K-9's resilience, recounting past feats to themselves and each other. Ace had been through fire, bullets, explosions, and relentless danger. Now, bleeding and weak, he had survived. Yet again, in the quiet moments of recovery, a sense of awe and respect filled the room. Ace's heroism was undeniable. Miller reflected on the journey through the canyon, the helicopter ride, and now at the field hospital. Every step had been fraught with danger, every decision critical, yet Ace had endured. The bond they shared had carried them both through uncertainty and fear. Ramirez offered a rare smile, a nod of respect to both the handler and the dog. "He's a fighter," the medic said quietly. "One of the toughest I've seen. He'll pull through." Miller nodded, squeezing Ace's paw, whispering, "We'll get through this together, buddy. We always do." Inside the field hospital, the hum of machines and the shuffle of urgent footsteps filled the air. Ace lay on a padded table, fur matted with dust, blood, and sweat. Sergeant Miller knelt beside him, hands trembling slightly as he held the German shepherd's paw. Despite the serious wound, Ace lifted his head weakly, ears flicking at Miller's voice. Each faint wag of his tail was a spark of life and determination, a reminder of the courage that had defined him throughout every mission. The bond between man and dog was palpable, silent yet unbreakable. SEAL medic Ramirez worked alongside the veterinary team, providing detailed information about the injuries Ace had sustained in the canyon. Every procedure was precise, every movement deliberate. Ace's wound was deep, and internal bleeding was a serious concern, but the dog's Vital signs, though unstable, showed resilience. "He's tough," Ramirez said quietly, eyes scanning monitors. "More than most humans I've treated. He's a fighter." Miller's chest tightened at those words. Ace had always faced danger head-on, yet seeing him vulnerable like this was another kind of trial, one that demanded hope, faith, and unwavering care. Miller gently stroked Ace's head, whispering words of encouragement. "You've faced worse, buddy. You've been through explosions, gunfire, and ambushes. You survived all of it. You can survive this too." The German shepherd's eyes tracked Miller's movements, tail twitching faintly. Every story, every memory of past missions seemed to resonate with the dog. He had always understood, instinctively, the trust and loyalty shared with his handler. Now, that bond became a lifeline. Miller's presence, calm voice, and unwavering devotion were as crucial to Ace's survival as the medical treatment being administered. Hours passed in tense concentration. The veterinary team worked tirelessly, carefully stitching wounds, controlling bleeding, and monitoring Ace's vital signs. Ramirez assisted at every turn, adjusting 4 fluids, administering pain relief, and providing updates to Miller. Outside, soldiers and support staff maintained a protective perimeter, aware of the precarious situation inside the hospital. Despite the controlled environment, the weight of uncertainty pressed down on everyone. Ace's resilience was remarkable, but the risk of complications remained high. Every heartbeat mattered, every breath was critical. Miller's mind drifted to Ace's heroic past, a history woven with courage, loyalty, and countless life-saving acts. He remembered the desert raid where Ace had darted into a warehouse filled with explosives, alerting the team before disaster struck. He recalled the nights tracking armed fugitives through dense forests, guided solely by the dog's instinct. He remembered quiet moments, too, the comfort Ace had offered soldiers in the aftermath of missions, lying silently at their feet, a calming presence in chaos. Ace's heroism was multidimensional, a blend of physical prowess, intuition, and emotional intelligence. Ramirez glanced at Miller, offering reassurance. "He's stable for now," he said, "but it's going to be a long night. We need to monitor him continuously." Miller nodded, squeezing Ace's paw, whispering, "I'm right here, buddy. You're going to pull through, I promise." Ace's eyes flicked toward him, ears pricked, a faint wag signaling acknowledgement. The connection between them was deeper than words could convey. Every heartbeat, every breath, every twitch of the tail underscored the trust and loyalty that had carried them through countless life-or-death missions. The night settled in around the field hospital, the hum of machines a constant reminder of Ace's fragile condition. Miller remained by his side, recounting past victories and heroic feats. He spoke of hostage rescues, explosive detection, and reconnaissance missions. He described quiet moments of trust, loyalty, and companionship. Each word seemed to anchor Ace, reminding him of his strength and resilience. The dog's breathing remained labored but steady. Every small sign of responsiveness was a victory, a testament to his indomitable spirit. Ramirez worked methodically, applying treatments with precision and care. He monitored vitals, administered fluids, and ensured Ace's pain was managed as effectively as possible. Despite the seriousness of the situation, there was a quiet admiration in his eyes. Ace had faced unimaginable dangers with courage, and now, even wounded and vulnerable, he continued to fight. The German shepherd's determination inspired everyone around him, a living example of resilience, loyalty, and unwavering bravery. Miller's thoughts drifted to the bond he shared with Ace, forged over years of training, missions, and countless moments of shared danger. Ace had always been more than a canine partner. He had been a friend, a confidant, a constant presence in the chaos of combat. Now, lying injured on the hospital table, he remained a hero. Miller's whispered words, soft strokes, and unwavering presence were lifelines, anchoring the dog to hope and survival. Every heartbeat, every flick of the tail, every movement became a sign of life worth fighting for. As dawn approached, faint light filtering through the field hospital's windows, Ace's condition began to stabilize. Monitors indicated slightly improved vitals, and his breathing, while still shallow, became more rhythmic. Miller exhaled slowly, brushing a stray lock of hair from the dog's face. "You're doing it, buddy," he murmured. "You're holding on." Ramirez nodded, glancing at the monitors. "It's slow, but he's responding," the medic said. Every person in the room felt the tension ease slightly, yet the night's trials had reminded them all that survival was never guaranteed. Hours stretched into a new day, and Ace's strength slowly returned. Miller continued to provide comfort and encouragement, recounting past missions, heroic feats, and quiet moments of trust. Ramirez monitored every step, adjusting treatment, and ensuring the dog's body could withstand recovery. Outside the hospital, the sun rose, casting long rays across the desert landscape. It was a reminder that even after darkness and danger, hope could emerge. Ace's resilience symbolized that hope, a living testament to courage, loyalty, and unwavering determination. Finally, the veterinary team confirmed that Ace had passed the critical stage. While recovery would be gradual, and his wounds required ongoing care, the German Shepherd was alive, alert, and responsive. Miller's chest swelled with emotion. He knelt beside Ace, whispering, "You did it, buddy. You survived. You're a hero." The dog lifted his head slightly, ears pricked, eyes meeting Miller's with quiet acknowledgement. Ramirez offered a rare smile, giving a nod of respect to both Ace and his handler. "He's tough as they come," he said quietly. "You both did well." Miller reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The canyon, the collapse, the helicopter ride, and the frantic care in the field hospital. Each moment had been fraught with danger, uncertainty, and hope. Ace's resilience, loyalty, and courage had guided them through. The bond between handler and canine, forged over countless missions and shared risks, had been their anchor. Miller realized, as he held Ace close, that heroism came in many forms, sometimes in fur, with forepaws, and eyes that stared down danger without hesitation. In the quiet moments following stabilization, the field hospital team offered words of admiration and encouragement. Soldiers, medics, and support staff recognized Ace's heroism, recounting past missions and daring feats that had saved lives. Miller listened, humbled and proud. Ace, though exhausted, lifted his head slightly at each familiar voice, tail flicking faintly in acknowledgement. The dog had endured, survived, and inspired, demonstrating that courage and loyalty were timeless, qualities that transcended species. By the time evening fell, Ace was resting comfortably, monitored closely but stable. Miller remained by his side, brushing his fur, whispering words of encouragement, recounting past missions, and quietly celebrating every small sign of recovery. Ramirez continued to provide medical guidance, ensuring Ace's healing process remained steady. The journey was far from over, but the immediate crisis had passed. Ace had fought, endured, and survived, embodying courage, loyalty, and heroism that would leave a lasting mark on everyone who witnessed it. The morning sun filtered gently through the field hospital's canvas walls, casting long golden rays over the makeshift medical tents. Ace lay on a padded table, his breathing steadier now, his body still tired, but gradually regaining strength. Sergeant Miller sat beside him, quietly brushing his fur, whispering words of encouragement. Each day of recovery was slow, deliberate, and careful. Ace's body had endured severe trauma, and every movement had to be monitored. Yet, despite the exhaustion etched into his frame, the German shepherd lifted his head to follow Miller's movements, tail flicking faintly in acknowledgement. Ramirez moved efficiently around them, checking vitals, adjusting bandages, and administering pain relief. "He's responding well," the medic said softly, a rare smile crossing his face. "He's tough, no question. But this stage is critical. Keep him calm. Keep him steady, and he'll pull through completely." Miller nodded, his chest tight with both relief and lingering worry. Ace had survived the canyon, the collapse, and the helicopter evacuation. But healing would take time. Every twitch, every wag of the tail, every small acknowledgement was a sign of life, courage, and determination. As Ace rested, Miller's mind wandered back through the missions they had shared. The memories were vivid, darting into a warehouse filled with explosives, tracking lost children in dense woods, navigating ambushes in hostile urban terrain. Ace had always been fearless, his instincts flawless, his loyalty unwavering. Miller recalled quiet moments, the times when the dog had comforted him after stressful missions, laying silently at his feet, providing a calm presence in the chaos. Now, seeing Ace vulnerable, yet still holding on to life, the weight of their shared history pressed on him in a profound way. The field hospital team worked tirelessly around Ace, ensuring that every wound was treated, every risk minimized. Machines monitored heart rate, oxygen levels, and internal bleeding, while medications administered pain relief and aided recovery. Ramirez explained each step to Miller, who absorbed every detail. "He's going to need continued care," the medic said, "but his spirit is strong. That's what will get him through the worst of it." Miller brushed Ace's fur, whispering softly about past victories, letting the dog know that courage and loyalty had always been recognized and celebrated, even if quietly. Outside, soldiers and support staff paused occasionally, peering through the tent flaps to check on the K9, who had become legendary among them. Ace had faced danger countless times, gunfire, explosives, hostile terrain, and had saved lives without hesitation. Now, as he recovered, his heroism was no less significant. Miller recounted stories aloud to keep Ace's mind engaged, mentioning the night raids, hostage rescues, and countless reconnaissance missions where Ace had been the team's unsung hero. The dog's eyes followed him, tail flicking faintly at moments of recognition. Days passed in a rhythm of careful treatment and quiet observation. Ace's wounds gradually healed, though his energy remained fragile. Miller remained vigilant, providing comfort, reassurance, and the presence Ace relied on. Ramirez oversaw treatment, ensuring that medications were administered on schedule and that Ace's fragile condition remained stable. Each small sign of progress, like increases in weight, more responsive behavior, improved breathing, was met with quiet celebration. Ace's resilience inspired everyone around him, a living testament to courage, loyalty, and the profound bond between human and canine. Miller's mind reflected on the lessons of the past few weeks. Courage was not just physical, it was mental, emotional, and spiritual. Ace had demonstrated that in every mission, in every dangerous encounter, and now in recovery. He had faced trauma and danger repeatedly, yet his spirit remained unbroken. The bond between Miller and Ace was forged through mutual trust, loyalty, and countless shared experiences. Each day of recovery strengthened that bond, deepening the understanding that their partnership was more than handler and canine. It was family, a partnership that transcended species. Ramirez approached Miller one morning with a subtle nod. "He's ready for limited activity," the medic said. "Not full deployment, but short exercises, controlled walks, and light training. It'll help him rebuild strength and coordination." Miller's heart lifted. He had feared that Ace might never return to the active missions that defined him. But now there was hope. Carefully, he lifted the dog from the table, supporting him as he took his first tentative steps. Ace's body trembled, muscles weak from injury, but his eyes held determination. Each step forward was a victory, every wag of the tail a sign of enduring spirit. Over the following days, Miller guided Ace through gentle exercises, gradually increasing distance and complexity. The K9's determination shone through every movement, every hesitant step replaced by confidence. Ramirez monitored progress, adjusting care and treatment as needed. "He's going to make a full recovery," Ramirez said quietly. "Physically and mentally, he's resilient. But it's the bond with you that keeps him going." Miller nodded, chest tight with emotion. The dog had faced the unthinkable, yet with care, trust, and love, Ace was reclaiming his strength and spirit. One afternoon, as Ace padded along the field hospital grounds under Miller's watchful eye, the handler reflected on the journey they had endured. From the canyon collapse to the helicopter evacuation, from the intense field treatment to recovery, every moment had tested their courage, resilience, and bond. Ace had proven himself a hero, a partner, and a survivor. Miller's eyes glistened as he knelt beside him, whispering softly, "You've faced the worst, buddy, and you've come through. I'm proud of you. We've both learned that courage isn't just about fighting, it's about surviving, enduring, and trusting each other." The field hospital team continued to monitor Ace's progress, offering praise, encouragement, and guidance. Soldiers who had trained alongside him spoke in hushed tones, recounting his past heroics and daring feats. Ace's reputation grew, not only as a K9 capable of extraordinary bravery, but also as a symbol of resilience, loyalty, and the profound bond between handler and dog. Miller realized that Ace's journey had not only tested their physical limits, but also reinforced the emotional and moral dimensions of courage. By the end of the week, Ace's progress was undeniable. He moved with confidence, responding to commands with precision, and displaying the same keen instincts that had made him invaluable in the field. Miller felt a swell of pride and relief. He had feared losing his partner, yet Ace's determination and strength had prevailed. Ramirez offered final assessments, confirming that the dog could gradually return to limited operational duties. Every step forward was a testament to endurance, courage, and the bond that had carried them through the darkest moments. As evening fell over the field hospital, Miller sat beside Ace, recounting stories of past missions one final time. "We've been through a lot, buddy," he said softly. "But we made it. You're back, stronger than ever. And we'll face whatever comes next together." Ace's tail flicked in response, eyes meeting Miller's with quiet understanding. The journey of survival, recovery, and reflection had strengthened not only the dog's body, but also the bond between them. The heroism of Ace was no longer just about past missions. It was alive in every beat of his heart, in every wag of his tail, and in the unbreakable connection with his handler. Weeks had passed since the harrowing canyon mission, and the desert sun cast long shadows across the field hospital grounds as Ace padded confidently alongside Sergeant Miller. His fur, now clean and well-groomed, gleamed in the sunlight, and every muscle rippled with regained strength. What had once been weakness and vulnerability was now replaced with the quiet power and agility of a K9 who had survived trauma and emerged stronger. Miller's chest swelled with pride as he watched Ace respond to every command with precision, every flick of the tail, every alert glance a testament to resilience and courage. The past weeks of treatment, gentle rehabilitation, and careful monitoring had forged a new kind of strength in Ace. Ramirez had overseen every detail of the recovery process, ensuring the dog's wounds healed completely while monitoring vitals, administering medications, and reinforcing care routines. Medic had seen countless human soldiers in recovery, but Ace's determination stood apart. Despite the severity of his injuries, the K-9 had not only survived, but had regained full operational capability, a true testament to spirit, discipline, and the bond shared with his handler. Miller reflected on their journey together, the canyon collapse, the helicopter evacuation, and the tense hours in the field hospital. Each moment had tested courage, loyalty, and endurance, yet Ace had endured, unwavering. The German Shepherd's history of heroic missions had always been remarkable, but this latest trial had elevated him beyond a symbol of skill. He had become a living emblem of survival, trust, and the power of the human-animal bond. Every mission recounted to him during recovery had reminded Ace of his capabilities, reinforcing instincts honed over years of training and experience. As Ace performed a series of exercises designed to rebuild strength and agility, Miller watched closely. The dog moved with fluid precision, alert and responsive. Ramirez monitored vital signs and muscle tone, nodding in approval. "He's ready for full operational training," the medic said quietly. "Physically and mentally, he's as strong as he was before, probably stronger in spirit." Miller's eyes glistened with emotion. Ace had faced life and death danger, survived injuries that would have ended lesser animals, and now returned, fully prepared to continue his duty. The news of Ace's recovery spread quickly through the unit. Soldiers who had served alongside the K-9 during countless missions came to witness the return of a true hero. Their respect and admiration were palpable, a mixture of awe at Ace's endurance and gratitude for the lives he had saved. Each soldier recalled moments where Ace's instincts had prevented disaster, uncovering explosives, locating hostages, tracking enemies, and now, seeing him walk strong and alert. Those memories were amplified by the courage he had shown in surviving his injuries. Training resumed in earnest. Ace navigated obstacle courses with precision, responded to commands without hesitation, and demonstrated the keen instincts that had made him indispensable. Miller worked closely with him, reinforcing commands, building trust, and strengthening the bond that had carried them through the most dangerous situations imaginable. Ramirez supervised, ensuring every movement was safe and effective. The exercises were more than physical. They were psychological reinforcement, helping Ace regain confidence and sharpen his instincts for future operations. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling training session, Miller knelt beside Ace, brushing dust from his coat. "You've done it, buddy," he whispered. "You faced the worst, survived, and came back stronger than ever. I'm proud of you." Ace nudged Miller's hand with his nose, tail wagging gently, eyes reflecting recognition and trust. The bond between them was palpable, strengthened through adversity, nurtured by shared experience, and solidified in moments of danger and recovery. They were more than handler and K-9. They were a team united by loyalty, courage, and love. A special ceremony was arranged to honor Ace's heroism and recovery. Soldiers and medics gathered under the setting sun, their expressions a mix of pride, respect, and gratitude. Miller stood beside Ace, holding the leash loosely, allowing the dog to remain at ease. Ramirez addressed the crowd, recounting Ace's feats, the countless missions, life-saving acts, and the remarkable courage displayed during the canyon collapse and subsequent evacuation. "This dog embodies the spirit of heroism," Ramirez sighed, voice steady with emotion. "He is fearless, loyal, and unbreakable. Ace has earned every bit of recognition we can give." Miller knelt beside Ace as the crowd applauded, murmuring softly, "You've done it, buddy. You've shown them all what courage really means." Ace's tail wagged in response, eyes bright and alert, ears perked. The ceremony was not only an acknowledgement of Ace's bravery, but a celebration of survival, resilience, and the profound bond between human and canine. Each soldier who had witnessed Ace's recovery felt inspired, reminded of the power of loyalty, determination, and teamwork. After the ceremony, Ace and Miller returned to training exercises. This time, however, there was a new energy, one born not from fear or adrenaline, but from confidence, trust, and mutual respect. Ace navigated the terrain with ease, demonstrating agility, alertness, and instincts sharpened by both experience and recovery. Miller watched with quiet pride, knowing that this dog had faced death and returned not only to life, but to heroism. The partnership between them had endured the harshest test imaginable and emerged stronger, a model of loyalty, courage, and resilience. Evenings were spent in quiet reflection. Miller sat beside Ace, recounting missions and stories, praising his courage and resilience. Ace, now fully alert and responsive, leaned against Miller, tail flicking in contentment. The quiet moments were as important as the action-packed missions. They reinforced trust, healing, and emotional bonds. Each story reminded Ace of his capabilities and heroism, every word strengthening the partnership that had seen them through life-threatening danger. As the sun set on another day, Miller reflected on their journey. Ace had faced danger, injury, and uncertainty, yet had survived through courage, resilience, and trust. He was not only a canine trained for combat, he was a hero, a partner, and a friend. The story of Ace's survival and recovery spread throughout the unit, inspiring soldiers, medics, and all who had witnessed his bravery. The bond between human and dog, forged through peril and nurtured in recovery, had proven unbreakable, and the lessons of loyalty, courage, and determination would resonate far beyond the field hospital. Finally, Ace was ready to return to full operational duty. Miller prepared him carefully, checking equipment, reviewing commands, and ensuring the dog's readiness. The German Shepherd responded with precision, every movement sharp and controlled. Ramirez gave the final approval, nodding with pride. Ace's recovery was complete, but more importantly, his spirit remained indomitable. The trials he had endured had strengthened him, his courage tested and reaffirmed, his loyalty unwavering. Together, Miller and Ace were ready to face whatever missions awaited them, united in trust, skill, and heroism. As they departed the field hospital for their first official post-recovery mission, Miller glanced at Ace, pride and emotion evident in his eyes. "We've been through hell and back, buddy," he whispered. "But we made it, together." Ace's ears pricked, tail flicked, and eyes met Miller's with quiet understanding. The journey of danger, injury, recovery, and triumph had concluded. Yet their story of courage and loyalty would continue. In every step, every mission, every challenge, the bond between handler and canine remained unshakable, a living testament to the power of heroism, resilience, and unwavering trust. The helicopter lifted into the sky, dust swirling below, carrying Ace and Miller toward the horizon. The desert stretched endlessly, yet they were prepared. Whatever dangers lay ahead, they would face them together. Ace, the canine who had survived the unthinkable, was ready once more, strong, alert, and courageous. Miller's hand rested on the dog's flank, a quiet affirmation of trust, partnership, and mutual respect. The world may never know every act of heroism, but the story of Ace and Miller would endure in the hearts of those who witnessed it, the tale of bravery, survival, an unbreakable loyalty that refused to be broken, even in the face of death itself.